I could not be any more excited about Friday, August 29th. Yes, a Friday game, 5 p.m. at Folsom Field in Boulder, Colorado. We got Georgia Tech leaving Atlanta, going all the way, flying over the Rocky Mountains to take on the fighting Deion Sanders, the Buffaloes. This game is fun because Colorado's weakness since Deion's been there has been matching physicality and running the football. Georgia Tech's weakness has been traveling outside of Atlanta. So something has to give here because Georgia Tech is a double chin strap game. You saw what they did to Miami last year. Just lined them up and was like, get your ass up out of here. It's tough, man. They bring the hard hat with them. Now, we're going to start on this game like we do on all of them. Coach versus coach. You got Brent Key versus Deion Sanders. Brent Key is a Georgia Tech offensive line alum who helped turn the program around in his playing days when he got there as a freshman in 1997. The Yellow Jackets had gone 5 years without a bowl appearance, and in Key's playing days, they kicked off a run of 14 straight bowl games. And by the time Key graduated, he was a captain on the team. Now as the head coach, he has put a stop to Georgia Tech's worst 3-year run in 40 years to make back-to-back bowl games. They went 5-0 at home last year and took Georgia, like 50 overtimes to try to win that game. It is clear that Brent Key is a difference maker in terms of his team, his belief, and the culture he is able to set. It just doesn't get the same levels of attention that Deion Sanders does for the turnaround in Colorado. As somebody who has covered the Pac-12, it is always easy to tell if somebody knows ball when it comes to talking about Coach Prime. Saying to somebody that Colorado doesn't deserve all the attention, oh yeah, it's subjective, and you can ignore every single time that somebody does that because lots of people don't like the Kardashians or Jake Paul and Logan Paul, but it's not liking their popularity. It doesn't change the reality of the situation. Now, Deion Sanders, he is the most culturally popular coach that college football has ever seen. And now if you want to say that Colorado is overrated because how much people root for Deion to succeed without acknowledging the reality of his roster or the reality of their opponents on any given week, that is fair. But I cannot, as an honesty broker, let anybody who was sitting here watching Colorado average 15 points a game while having the worst defense in college football in 2022 sit here and tell me that Deion Sanders is not a difference maker. Oh, he's overrated. He doesn't do anything. He's just all hype. That ain't the case. But now let's look at these quarterbacks, because it is quarterback versus quarterback. We already looked at the coaches, because watching Deion Sanders coach Shedeur in Colorado and then at Jackson State before that, it shows what a bond between a head coach and a quarterback can do for a program that has been down. But Brent Key, he might not be Haynes King's dad, but those two are very, very like-minded. They are tough dudes and they believe. And if Georgia Tech is going to do something special this year, it'll be because of that bond and because of the big leaps in Haynes King. Now, I do have to be honest, because that same bond that is so tight between Key and Haynes is that same bond that had an injured Haynes King out there literally trying to run through brick walls last year. I had my producer ask King about that bond at ACC Media Kickoff, and here's what he had to say.
How much is being around Key remind you some of the stuff your dad instilled just as a coach here?
It's a lot. It's like, are you sure we're not related? All the time. We think alike. It also helps that, I'm in his office pretty much every week. And it doesn't even have to be about football. It could just be about anything. Just half the time, just talk back. And just building that relationship even more, it means a lot.
Now we look up and Haynes King is going into his 6th year of college football, and he is coming off of a season where he completed 73% of his passes while not fully healthy, and there is no excuse for him not to have his best year of his career. He should look to attack that Colorado's portal rebuilt secondary and see how that offensive line led by their coach Mr. Warren Sapp is doing, because they have not just been the most physical team. It's the truth. But Deion understands the physicality wins games, so I will expect them to be even better on defense than they've been the last 2 years. Now, the big question is, who's going to start at quarterback for Colorado, because we're likely going to see Caden Salter, but do not rule out a package or an appearance by their hot shot recruit Juju Lewis, because Rivals had him as the 10th best player in the country coming out of high school last year, despite reclassifying to graduate early. Now, an interesting note to this game that if Lewis does get into the game, he's familiar with Georgia Tech because he played his high school ball just an hour west of Georgia Tech's campus. That's 2 hours in Atlanta traffic. But let's focus on the likely starter, Caden Salter. He had a really good run at Liberty, especially 2 years ago. And his mobility, it gives Colorado another dimension to this offense that they haven't had with Shurmur Sanders. Now, Salter had more rushing yards by himself in the last 2 years than Colorado did as an entire team. That is a big deal. But think about this. The one thing I don't love about Caden Salter is that he wears the shiesty. And I have 2 quarterback sons, and a shiesty is the ski mask with only the eyes out. And I'm like, listen, son, ain't no wearing no shiesty unless it is bare bones, freezing cold outside. I don't like my quarterback in shiesties. That is the hat on backwards take, and I don't like it. So if he comes out there in the shiesty, guaranteed loss for Colorado. I'm letting you know that right now. But let's look at Georgia Tech's offense versus Colorado's defense. Because Georgia Tech averaged 5 yards per carry in 2024, and that is likely why that they've come into this opener in Boulder as a favorite. But it's not like Colorado's run defense was bad in 2024. It was actually much improved, and they were tied for second in the Big 12 conference play last year in terms of yards per carry allowed at 3.8. And that was a number that was 3.5 in their 6 home games. Now, Jamal Haynes, he is going to be one of the better running backs that Colorado is going to be facing in all of 2025. And this dude is running behind 2 returning All-ACC interior offensive linemen. So what is Colorado's counter to that going to be? Because they added 6'5", 325-pound defensive tackle Jaheim Otis. And they got linebackers Reginald Hughes and Martavius French in the portal. With everything that they've added, how much better they got last year. I don't believe that these Buffaloes are going to be pushovers, because that ain't who Deion Sanders is in his core. That ain't who Sapp is in his core. That ain't who the plethora of other NFL coaches on that staff, that ain't what they're about. So I doubt that they are trying to instill that physicality and that mentality. Now, where Georgia Tech might actually have an advantage is on the outside with former FIU wide receiver Mr. Eric Griffiths, because that is a guy that everybody wanted out of the portal. And the fact that he chose to go to Georgia Tech, it means that he must trust that Haynes King is ready to air it out in 2025. So be on the lookout for Mr. Eric Griffiths. Now, Colorado, to win this game, they are going to have to limit big plays on the outside. And they're hoping that a pair of 6'2" corners is going to get the job done. Now, let's look at Colorado's offense versus Georgia Tech's defense. Now, I'm not even sure how you fully prepare for Colorado's offense that likely won't look anything like the offense that it was in 2024, because you got a different style of quarterback, a guy that is likely not a first-round pick or a high NFL pick in Caden Salter, but he's still a good quarterback. And this probably won't look like that 80% pass, 20% run offense that we saw last year. Their new offensive line coach, Mr. Gunnar White, he called running the ball in the post-Shedeur and Travis Hunter era a non-negotiable. Plus, do we really think that Marshall Faulk is going to jump on this staff to coach a running back group that has nothing to do with but pass block? I don't think so. Now, I'm not sure how cohesive it's going to look right out the gate, but big Jordan Seaton at left tackle and that Buffs line are going to get a chance to be people movers. They're going to get a chance. You got to prove what you got. You got to kill what you eat. Georgia Tech is going to be countering Colorado with a rebuilt defensive line. They got 5 transfers in, and they're all hoping to keep up the same standard of last year's defense that made both Georgia and Miami's offenses work for every single yard. Then they got UCF transfer Matthew Alexander, and he's really the only player with experience, but he is a hell of a run stopper. And let's see if his teammates are going to be able to keep up with him at GT. Colorado on the other side, they got plenty of receiver talent. Deion has not been short on skill positions at all. Now, it would be a massive boost for the program's high school recruiting efforts if Omarion Miller, if he stepped up and became a dependable wide receiver one, because he flashed big play ability in limited time as a freshman and a sophomore. Now, for Colorado to get to the next level, and for them to compete for a Big 12 championship and a spot in the college football playoff, they have to be seen as a development destination as much as a great place to transfer and to get some attention. That's a change that has to be made. Now let's look at the X factors in this game though, because that's going to determine who wins and loses the game. For Georgia Tech, Brent Key, he does not strike me as the type of guy who is going to be intimidated by anybody. But he also spent his college years hanging out in a city that was full of Deion Sanders baseball and football jerseys. This is clearly somebody that he's always looked up to, and he has said as much. It is going to matter to him, and he said it at ACC Media Day as well. His level of focus to set the tone for his roster that has yet to prove that they can maintain the same level of focus on the road that they have at home. And when you go up to Boulder, I've been to Boulder, it is one of the ruckus crowds. It is loud. The stadium is tough. The altitude is potentially a problem as well, because that's not something that you deal with in the South, and why a lot of teams in the South don't like to travel out west, because conditions are completely different than they are. And it's going to be a tough place to get their bearings straight out of the gate. Now, the X factor on the other side, it is going to be Colorado's offensive coordinator, Mr. Pat Shurmur, because he's the most important guy on that staff. Shurmur is so important because Deion Sanders was largely out throughout the spring and then a good portion of the summer. And then it was up to Shurmur to figure out the best way for this team to formulate their new look on offense and manage the defense. Because Shurmur hasn't always had success at as many NFL stops, but he did once lead the entire NFL in yardage. And that was when he had Case Keenum at quarterback and Latavius Murray at running back. Now the Buffs, y'all better hope that he has another year like 2017 in his back pocket. Now, the question is, who is going to win this game? Colorado is a 4-point underdog at home, and I would love for Deion to win this game, but I do believe that them gelling at the beginning of the season is going to be tough for a returning head coach and a returning veteran quarterback in Mr. Haynes King. So give me the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets to win this game. You guys make sure that you like, subscribe, get notifications, and tell a friend about the Unafraid show and be one of us.